We welcome to the show James Martin and Caroline Evans. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, I know, James, you don't really need much of an introduction, to be honest with you, but most people will probably know you from Saturday Kitchen, won't they?
I suppose that's the one, isn't it, really? Yeah, I just kind of, do that on a Saturday morning. Now it's moved to Sunday as well. We've got the Best Bites programme. So, it's Hangover TV, as we call it, over the weekend.
That's great. And why not calling it Sunday Kitchen, then?
I don't really know, to be honest. It was the BBC that obviously when a certain show left on a Sunday and moved to a different channel, they approached me and said, "Would you, sort of almost do a sort of a revamp of Saturday Kitchen and call it, something like a Best Bites or Best Bits, that kind of stuff?" And that's why we came up with the title. It was all done in about 60 seconds, really. That's where the name comes from.
Oh, great. It's quite a unique format, that show, isn't it? It's very sort of fluid. It feels very different to your standard kind of cooking show.
Well, it is because it's live more than anything, and it's all about the food, really. It's not about, we don't try and tinsel anything up or anything else. We rely on, some of the world's greatest chefs, and we're fortunate to get some of the world's greatest chefs on our show, and they don't really cook on TV, a lot of these guys, and getting them to cook in front of not an audience but in front of you at home, live to the nation is pressure enough. But I think that's why it works. It's a very different style of show, and we never meant it to be like that. It's just moulded itself into that.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Caroline, you're from the Potato Council. That must be a damn cool job as well.
Do you know what? Best in the world, I think. Who wouldn't want to get to eat potatoes each day, look at different ways to cook them, and be out and about with our growers as well?
That's great. So, for anybody who doesn't know, what does the Potato Council do?
Do you know what? We look after Britain's potato industry.
On it, they ought to have this knowledge.
Well, food's a massive subject, isn't it, really? And the popularity of it has grown so much over the last sort of 20 years that, people are traveling a lot more. So there's a lot more knowledge out there, and there's certainly a lot more chefs imparting that knowledge with the general public. So, people maybe pick certain things of it, but, I am quite surprised that, certain number of people class a Granny Smith as a type of potato, but it's one of those things. We've still got a long way to go, obviously.
It fascinates me, but it's 20% is the figure that you've got here. 20% of us think that parsnips grow on trees. That means the next time you're in a queue and there's 10 people in the queue, 2 of them actually believe parsnips grow on trees.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, isn't it, really? And what we've tried to do, and particularly when the Potato Council approached us about this sort of thing, we looked at a way of, how can we simplify things and make it easier for consumers in store? And so what we did was classify simple thing like potatoes, we classify them into 3 categories. The simple being fluffy, salad, and smooth. And people always get, you'll go into the supermarket, you're faced with rows and rows of potatoes, and you don't actually know which ones to look for. And even I can find it quite confusing now, because you've got all these modern different varieties of potatoes as well. But just to simplify everything, fluffy potatoes, the most common ones that you'll find out there are your Maris Papers and King Edwards. Now, fluffy potatoes mean things like jacket potatoes, fluffy in the middle, things like roast potatoes, fluffy in the middle, and chips, fluffy in the middle. So think of that in terms of the texture. They're the type of potatoes you want for that. Salad potatoes like Maris Pear or Charlotte potatoes are slightly smaller ones. A little bit firm to the bite. They're mainly for salads, great eaten hot or cold. And then for mash, which everybody loves, you want like a Desiree or something like that, which has got a lovely smooth mashed potato. Having said that, you can make it with a fluffy potato as well. But you wouldn't make mashed potato out of salad potatoes. So you see where the confusion relies. Even though we've got the 3 categories, if you stick to those 3 categories, then you'll know your potato and which one to use next time you're in the store.
This will either be genius.
Well,
or there will be potato chaos.
Yeah, well, we can't simplify it much more than 3, really. But...
Mark, we're going to say genius, so it's all fine.
It is genius. I'm just worried about these 20% that still think parsnips grow on trees.
Yeah, well, I can't do much about that, really. But it's it's one of these things that I think if you've got kids, this is the unique opportunity now.
Yeah.
If you've got kids, even if you've got a window box and you live in the city, grow something, grow some carrots or grow anything in there, because then kids will appreciate what it takes to grow their veg and where it comes from. And that knowledge then passes on from generation to generation. It's really, really important. You think of kids like baking cakes, because they like the raw mixture turned into a batter, baked in the oven, they get to taste it. It's exactly the same things when they grow it. Caroline mentioned that she's working a lot with the kids. It's so important that we teach the youngsters where the food comes from.
Yeah, that's great. And there's a website that you've set up for this, haven't you, to explain the classification?
There is. It's called manyfacesofpotatoes.co.uk. And if you've got a great recipe, then you could submit that recipe online as well and win a fantastic prize. But you'll get the classifications on there, and it's so easy to print off and have that with you next time you go shopping.
Yeah. Now, I know you guys are really busy today, but James, if I could just grab you just for 1 minute.
That's all right.
Roast potatoes, right? It's a great debate. The best way to produce the most awesome roast potatoes, that when you roll them out on the table, I think that's the thing that you're always judged on for a Sunday roast.
It is. It's my mother's. They're the best in the world.
So what's the secret recipe?
I've trained in 3-star Michelins. I've been all over Europe working as a chef. You cannot beat my mother's roast potatoes.
So how does she make them?
She gets them from a very well-known shop. And she goes out shopping for the potatoes, buys British, of course, because we're farmers' kids.
Yep.
And she gets King Edwards, or she uses King Edwards. Now, the reason why King Edwards and roast potatoes, the reason why the people don't go for them, sometimes they're quite difficult to peel. And people will always go for a smooth potato because it's simple to peel and I think it's easier. Go for King Edwards, peel them, cut them in half, and you want sort of sizes of about sort of 2-inch in size. Decent sort of chunks, otherwise they go like dried pellets in the tray.
Yeah.
Decent sort of size. Put them in a pan, salt, cold water, bring it to the boil it for about 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, drain it off down through a colander, and then in the colander, just shake them around in the colander while they're still warm, and then have a hot tray with some dripping. That's the key to it, dripping. Not, down south they use that fancy duck fat, but dripping, proper dripping.
Okay.
And then you put the potatoes in the dripping, roll them around, and then roast them in the oven. 200 degrees, or as hot as the oven will go at home, 200 degrees for about half an hour. They make the best roast potatoes, and that's from my mother.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you very much for that. We'll put that recipe on the website as well, and we will brand it as your mum's as well.
Yeah, well, it is. She makes the best, and the best gravy as well. But that's phase 2.
That's fantastic. All right, James, absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Many thanks for your time this morning. And Caroline Evans from the Potato Council as well. Thanks ever so much for your time.
Cheers.
Thanks.